Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to the War Room. It's gonna be probably a little bit shorter War Room than usual because I simply don't have that much going on at the moment. So instead, I thought let's talk games because, well, that's what most of you are here for, the games. And of course, with the Steam Summersale in full swing, there are so many good games to get. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of miss the old format for the Steam sales, where instead of having every game on sale for maximum discount every day, it used to be this format where you had a game that was on sale for 24 hours, and if you missed it, then you were like, oh shit, I need to wait for the recap day. It made it more, I don't know, it made it more exciting, where you would wake up, you'd grab your tablet, your phone, your computer, whatever, and you'd basically go, let's see what's on sale today. What can I get today? And talking of which games have you been getting? Which games have you been getting lately that you really enjoy? For me, so far I only picked up one game, which is Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm about 9 months late to the party, considering it's a game that was released in September 2015, but it's definitely right up my alley. It's a really nice stealth game. Yeah, if you haven't heard of it, by the way, it's a game where you play let's say, a stealth operative in a completely free world. I suppose you could compare it to Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell meets Far Cry. And no, I'm not talking Far Cry Primal, I'm talking Far Cry 3 and 4. That sort of level where you have a lot of options. You have a lot of availability of different weapons. You can tune these weapons, you can design new ones. You can basically do anything you like in the game. You can hit an outpost completely stealthily and lock everyone out. Or you can just go in with a helicopter, guns blazing, and knock everything down that way. And of course, that's not the only thing I've been playing. I've only had that thing for a couple of days. I've been doing quite a bit of World of Warships and having good fun with that. I finally got my Tier 9 destroyer, the Fletcher. Now, I'm not actually using the Fletcher right now because it's pretty early in the morning, at least for most of the world. Meaning that there are not that many people on, meaning that I could join up in the Fletcher, but it's going to take forever and then some for me to finally get a match. So I'm here in the Bujoni. Anyway, last week, World of Warships, Metal Gear Solid 5, but also Hearts of Iron. I know I said I wasn't going to cover it, and I'm probably still going to stick to that, but I have been having some fun with it. Been doing some really, some really unusual stuff, such as invading the entire Southern Americas with a fascist Brazil, of all things. And just the sheer amount of weird stuff that's happening that's not historically correct makes it really unusual. Really interesting to see what's going on. And of course, that's the whole attraction to. That's the whole attraction to Hearts of Iron 4. You can have these really weird things, these really unhistorical events that just catch you completely unaware, and that make the game so much more interesting. But as for covering it on the channel, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a game that's that fun to cover, because especially the first couple episodes, there's just not a lot going on. Later on, you tend to get a little bit more action, but still. There are plenty of channels out there who are covering it, so I intend to instead pay attention to some other games, such as Command Modern Air and Naval Operations. I still really think that's a good game, and that is not getting anywhere near enough attention. But it is pretty tough of a game to get into. It has a lot of intricacies, and you need to know a lot about these things. Talking about knowing a lot of stuff about military units, something that I've been noticing lately in movies, and maybe you have too, is that at some point you just know so much about the military, about tactics, about units, about equipment, that you go, that's not right. The movie is completely getting this wrong. For me, it's always submarines. Submarines where you have these sort of semi-revolving radar dishes, well, that's not at all how a submarine gets its intel. Submarine listens. A submarine doesn't send out pings. If it sends out pings, it's going to get detected, and that's pretty much the last thing that you want to have happen in a sub. Your stealth, your ability to stay hidden, is one of your biggest factors. So when you have these games or these movies who are just completely mucking that up, I'm always going, nope, not likely. Yesterday, for example, I was watching, it was Clear and Present Danger. We were pretty bored, so we took to the television, and Clear and Present Danger was on. If you haven't heard of it, it's a film from 1994, from the Tom Clancy, let's say, lineup, where you're following Harrison Ford as Jack Ryan. Now, there's nothing bad about that, but 1994 is a long time ago. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are from after 1994. But we're talking computers which still use 3.5-inch floppy disks. And we're talking about the age where you don't exactly have these large servers, but where you used to have a machine that took sort of tape recordings out of a larger server, put that in a sort of VCR. Okay, I may have to explain what a VCR is now. Oh god. The servers were completely different, the tech was completely different. But as I was saying, sometimes you just recognize stuff. So we were looking at the hull of a ship as it came out of the water, and I was like, yep, that's an aircraft carrier. And the camera panned up, and 5 seconds later it was revealed that that was indeed an aircraft carrier. And my girlfriend was just laughing like, how do you know this stuff? How can you instantly recognize that? And, well, I pretty much have the same thing with others. An aircraft took off from the carrier, F-18, and I saw that they messed up the frame. Because initially, the plane was armed with, I believe, short-range air-to-air missiles, 1994, so I think they had early MRAMs. Then, when it took off, you saw another shot of it, and suddenly it was unarmed. And finally, as they were getting ready to engage a target, they were suddenly starting to talk about releasing a laser-guided bomb. The laser-guided bomb, of course, needs a laser designator, so they had someone on the ground with a laser designator. And then, when the pilot was about to release, he said, "Missile away." And I was like, oh my god, are you for real? Just, how can you get it so wrong? It's not rocket science, just get some sort of military advisor on board and make sure that you have the right people advising you on this stuff, because it's painful if you get it wrong. It's just sad to see it go wrong like that on a movie that was supposedly one of the best of its time. So how they tend to get it so wrong, I just do not understand. And I'm not going to say it ruins movies for me to see stuff like that, but it does impact how much I enjoy it, because I'm going, nope, not likely, not real, nope, doesn't work out that way, nope. And maybe you have these things too. A couple of weeks ago we talked about how gaming impacts your, let's say, your perception of reality, but it also impacts your perception of movies. So let me know in the comments, how are those things working out for you? Do you have these frustrations as well, where you go, nope, that is just wrong, that is just not how this weapon works, or hey look, the French didn't have leopard tanks, something like that. Let me know in the comments, because I'm eager to find out what exactly your experiences with it are. Anyway, as I was mentioning, we were going to talk about games, and there are a lot of pretty damn good games out there at the moment. And with the Steam Summersale, most of them are discounted, so make sure you grab a couple of good ones while you can. That's what I wanted to talk about with this episode. What kind of games do I recommend? There's quite a few nice ones out there that you can get. To start off with, a game that I have almost 700 hours into, and nope, it's not Wargame, although Wargame is on sale. It's Kerbal Space Program. Kerbal Space Program, if you're not familiar with it, it's a game where you can build your own space program. And you're not doing this with random astronauts, you're doing this with Kerbals, hence the name. You're starting out from scratch with stuff that is even unable to reach the moon, and you develop your, let's say, your space-worthy race up to the most complicated rockets and very, very complex space missions. And it is extremely, extremely moddable. Usually, KSP works along the same model as Skyrim, which is mod it until it crashes. And that's something that I have been doing quite a lot. You just add a mod and then another one, and then you go, oh yeah, I need these rocket parts. And then, oh, hang on, I haven't got a good engineer on this telling me what I need to know about rocket design. I need to change that. And so forth and so on. And then you just keep adjusting the game. You can just keep modding the game until it no longer works. Definitely a game I had a lot of fun with. It's, I believe, 50% off at the moment, and it is well worth it. I bought it when it was early access, and it's been out of early access for quite a while now. But it's still a really, really good game. So Kerbal Space Program, get that if you haven't gotten it yet. If you're looking for something a little bit more earthly, you could go for City Skylines. It's, let's say, it's sort of an improved version of SimCity. That's basically the way I consider it. It's an improved version of SimCity, where you still do city design, but you don't get all of these annoying issues that some of the later Sims games have, or SimCity games. I don't have a lot of hours into it yet, but it can be a huge time sink, and more importantly, it will run on computers which aren't as powerful. So if you have a computer that is not always capable of running the latest stuff, you could look into that game. See if that's something to your liking, and see if it will run on your device. In case you want to try, if you want to see if it does run on your device, make sure you have a look at a website called Can I Run This?, which is basically going to do a small scan of your computer and then tell you if you can in fact run something. Especially if your computer isn't that powerful, this can save you a lot of money, where if you buy a game and you go, nope, it can't run it, okay, I'm not going to buy it. Anyway, that's it for Cities Skylines. Definitely recommended. Next up, Command Modern Air and Naval Operations, also known as CMANO. It's a pretty damn expensive simulator. This is not something along the lines of a €25 game or something heavily discounted like that. It's, I suppose you could say, it is lacking in graphics, but then again, it is much more of a military simulator than anything else. This thing has, I believe, the most complete database of military units, and especially, of course, ships and aircraft, starting from, I think, 1948, something like that. Let's say post-World War II, anyway. Normally, you can pay up to 70, yes, 70 euros for that game, or simulator, whatever you prefer as a term. But now it is 35 during the Steam sale. So if you want to get that, make sure you do so during the sale, as it's going to save you a lot of money. And if you are into military stuff, I mean deep into military stuff, because this is not a game for the faint of heart. This can take you a long time to master. And these situations, these scenarios that you run, can be very, very diverse. You can spend days running a single scenario. You can spend days on it. You can spend time creating your own missions. You can spend time creating your own simulations. Although that, I found it a bit complicated. I haven't really mastered it yet. It is something that I do look into, but somehow I haven't been able to get the scripted stuff just right. Let's go with a ranked battle for the next one. I haven't been able to get the scripted stuff just right, so I don't exactly know about how to do that, but you can create a lot of scenarios. using almost any unit from any military, any navy, or any air force. So that is CMANO, Command Modern Air and Naval Ops. A bit of an older game, still something that you can sink countless hours in, is of course Skyrim. It seems so long ago that Skyrim came out, by the way. It came out on the 11th of 11th of 2011, so November 11, 2011. It's almost 5 years old. But with the modding, especially for the PC, you can make this game look absolutely amazing. It is still very, very nice if you are interested in open worlds, character creation, and basically countless hours of exploring. Especially for the discounted price, I would really, really recommend that. If you are more of a strategy fan, you could have a look at the Empire series, or at least the Total War series. I played quite a lot of Empire Total War, and mostly I was doing that versus AI. I don't think I ever played against another human. Maybe a naval battle at some point, but other than that, not a full campaign. You can play as several different nations, and all of these nations, of course, have their own plans for the Golden Age. So let's say 1720s to 1840s, something like that. So that's the Empire series. You still have a very, very large amount of hours to spend on Fallout if you haven't tried those games. Fallout 4, of course, is the latest installment. It is also discounted, although not heavily yet. And there are plenty more Fallout games. Fallout New Vegas is something that I have done a lot of hours into. Fallout 3, also pretty good. Basically, most of these Fallout games have very, very good character creation, very good stories. A lot of narration, although being from the same developer as Skyrim, at some point you're going to start recognizing these voices. You're going to say, oh yeah, it's the same voice actor as that character, or it's the same person voicing that guy. Yeah, so be it. But again, both Skyrim and Fallout are usually heavily, heavily moddable. And moddable using a very easy tool at that. The Nexus mod installer is something that's going to make modding those games a lot easier. If you haven't picked up Stellaris yet, there is a small discount on it. It's not too significant. I believe it's 10%. So you're going to save €5 or something a little bit along the lines of that. I personally played quite a bit of it, but I find that it gets a little boring after, let's say, after the first 3 hours of a campaign. Because at some point you just, I don't know, everybody consolidates their empires, there's nothing more to explore, and you just end up fighting them. Or you end up fighting the Unbidden, as you may have seen in my Stellaris gameplay or Stellaris gameplays from other channels. Other game that you can sink a lot of hours into, that's going to give you pretty damn good value for your money, is XCOM. You could go with the older XCOM Enemy Unknown or XCOM 2. Both of them really, really good. I recommend XCOM 2 a bit more than XCOM Enemy Unknown, although Enemy Unknown has a fantastic mod for it, the Long War mod. It's going to make the game incredibly frustrating, but it'll also give you basically an unofficial DLC. By the sheer amount of stuff that's been added, I say that's pretty much an unofficial DLC. And of course we have Wargame Red Dragon on sale. Although I have to admit I haven't seen that many new players in Wargame Red Dragon. I checked the Steam stats to see what amount of new players we're getting, but it turns out that we're not really getting that many new players. I think that's because there are so many other good games that are currently on sale. So much other good stuff that's slightly more modern and at least more easy to get into, that people are choosing to play instead of Wargame Red Dragon. And, well, to some extent I cannot blame them. Wargame is a really, really tough game. And of course we have the rookie nights that I sometimes organize, but other than that, it's tough to get into. Again, we've been over that countless times. Now, something else that happened last week, of course, is the whole Brexit situation. Again, I am not going to have a political debate in the comments. If you want to debate that, go over to Reddit, go over to a news group, go over to whatever. Let's not do that here. Everyone has their own opinion. I respect that. And there are pros and cons to the EU, to the UK leaving the EU. Think of it what you will. I, for one, am not sure what to think of it yet. Because let's face it, something like this has never happened. Now, why do people always have to interrupt me when I'm recording videos? I really, really hate that. As I was saying, we were talking about the Brexit situation. There are advantages, there are disadvantages, but let's be honest, no one really knows what's going to happen yet. There's just a lot of simulations, there's just a lot of predictions, there's nothing similar like this has happened before. I believe that when you join the EU, you have a clause which is, I think it's Article 50 that they have been talking about, which says that you can, if you so want to, leave the EU. But nothing along the lines has ever happened. So all these predictions of we're finally going to get a country back, the economy is going to tank, maybe, probably, possibly, I don't know. It just never happened before. So we're going to really have to wait and see what exactly will happen. And up until that time, I don't think there's too much of a discussion about it yet. Because that's what everyone's talking about, isn't it? How do we go from here? The answer? No one knows. No one knows. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And we're just going to have to be really, really patient and wait and see. Because let's face it, this is going to be lawyer material for the next, I think the next decade. Something along those lines. Something like this has never happened. The lawyers probably don't even know where to begin. They have no clue what to start doing, where to start with it, how to go about stuff like this. So everyone's guess is as good as mine. Again, I'm not going to have a political debate in the comments. There are plenty of other better platforms for that. So if you want to have a discussion about that, please do so elsewhere, as I don't mind a couple of comments about it. But I'm not going to have a full-fledged political debate here. Because I found that especially around this issue, that turns into a nasty debate real soon. So please refrain from doing that and take your debates someplace else. Anyway, I don't know about you guys, but for me it's a pretty easy, pretty quiet week. Especially with the body language stuff. Most people around this season, most of the working people in the country here in the Netherlands are going away for the vacation, they're going away for summer, and there's just not a lot to do. There is just not a lot going on. On the one hand, you could say, well, Stealth, that's great, because now you finally have time to play more games. Yeah, well, that was never really a problem, was it? Not having any income, that's kind of a problem. So that's something that does worry me. And, whoa, something just blew up. That is something that worries me, but at the same time, I'm considering setting up a sort of, let's call it a summer school. Let's call it Stealth's Body Language Summer School. It's a bit of a concept just in my head right now, but let me know what your thoughts are on that. Would you be interested in getting a sort of, let's call it a weekly lecture? A weekly lecture on body language. As a sort of summer school to prepare you for job interviews or trying to get a girlfriend, something like that. What would your personal preference for that be? How would you fill such a thing up? What would you like to learn about? Let me know in the comments, because with your input I can make sure I improve those things. I can tailor it to your needs. And other than that, let me know what kind of games you're playing. kind of games you have been getting, and if you recommend them. Because let's face it, there are some really, really good games out there, but there's also a lot of just really shitty games. And if you have one of those shitty games that you think people should absolutely not buy, let me know in the comments. Save some other people the cash and the pain and the frustration. So make sure that they don't have to go into that. And that's pretty much all I have for this week's War Room. Again, the game recommendations: Kerbal Space Program, Cities Skylines, Command Modern Air and Naval Operations, Skyrim, stuff from the Total War series or the Empire series, Fallout, any of those games, Fallout 3, 3 New Vegas, Fallout 4. Oh, something I completely overlooked, by the way, is Just Cause 3. If you are feeling overly destructive, make sure you get Just Cause 3. It's really, really hell-bent on destroying things. So if you're feeling frustrated or just destructive, make sure you get that. Stellaris is on sale, albeit not that much. XCOM 2 is on sale, really recommend that. And, of course, we have Wargame. If you haven't gotten that yet and you still want to get in on all the action, make sure you do so. And that's it for this week. Thank you for watching. I hope you have fun. If you let me know which kind of games you're playing. And other than that, I'll be seeing you soon for more Wargame, World of Warships, and other gameplay. Thank you for watching. See you next week.